Daf Mem Dalet Amud Beis will begin Mem Dalet Amud Aleph, 3 lines from the bottom. We are in the middle of the discussion. It seems to be an apparent contradiction between the two brises, whether you can put up a wall, you can make a mechitza for a sukkah out of Adam V'Kelim. If one of the walls fell down, can you put up and make a mechitza from Adam V'Kelim on Shabbos or Yom Tov? So the Gemara wants to now resolve that stira. Both brises are going according to the Rabbanan that says that it's mutter to put up a temporary addition to an existing structure. If you have an existing structure, to put up a temporary addition to it, a temporary oil mechitza is mutter. So we would understand, therefore, why if one of the walls fell down, you can make a mechitza out of Adam V'Kelim. It's temporary and it's an existing structure. But why would be asr? So how do we resolve this contradiction? V'kelim like kasha, the two brises that says kelim it's not a kasha, habadaif and shlishis, habadaif and revius. The difference is if it's the third mechitza for the sukkah, if it's the third wall or the fourth wall. The sukkah needs a third wall. So as the Ritva explains, if it's the third wall, it's not considered that you are being moisef al oil arai. It's not considered to be a temporary addition to an existing structure, because before you put up the third wall, it's not a sukkah. Now you made the third wall, it's a sukkah. It's like you're creating from scratch, you're creating a bias, you're creating a structure. If it's the fourth wall, you have an existing kosher sukkah. Now you're just making a temporary addition to it by the fourth wall, so that's why it's mutter. The economics meduyik also diktani nafal doif no, which means to me that it's a specific wall, it's a critical wall, doif no. Shemam, we're talking about the third wall. But we still have a stira between the two brises, between an adam. In the one brisa, it says that you could use an adam, a person, for one of the walls. In the other brisa, it says you cannot. Now, in the brisa that says that it's mutter to use an adam for a wall, it says, and therefore, by using the adam, it will enable you to be able to eat and sleep in the sukkah. So apparently, even though you are using it for the third wall, it's one of the critical walls, nevertheless, it's mutter. So why should it be mutter? We're saying by the kelim for the third wall, if it's for the third wall, it's also because that appears like you're creating a binyan. So why by an adam is it mutter? The more answer is adam no like kasha. It's not a kasha. Kan ladas, kan shalemi das. There's a difference if the person is aware that he's being used as a wall or not. So as it seems from the Parish of Rashi that the way he explains it is as follows. Well, we said by kelim, it's for the third wall. It's also, you cannot use it, even though we hold like the Rabbanan that says making a temporary addition to a structure is mutter, but that has the appearance of making a binyan, because now you're machshir the sukkah. But that's only by kelim, which kelim sometimes are used for a wall. People are generally not used for a wall. So therefore, if a person is not aware that he's being used as a wall, he's standing there, not aware that he's being machshir the sukkah, it does not have an appearance of creating a bias, because a person is normally not used as a wall, and he's not aware that he's being used, so it doesn't have an appearance of building a bias. So therefore, if a person's unaware that he's being used as a wall and he stands there, he can be machshir the sukkah. But if he's aware of it, then it has an appearance of building a bias. And if it's the third wall, the critical wall, one of the critical walls, then if he is aware of it, then it's also. Well, the case over there where he went out of the tchum, and they made mechitzas out of people, out of humans, they made mechitzas. Well, over there, the people were aware that they were being used for partitions. And we're saying that if people are aware, then you cannot use them as mechitzas. Gemara says, no, they asked people to stand there, but they were not aware that the purpose of it was to make a mechitza. Rav Chisda, who gave this eitzah, then he knew what the purpose was, so it should be aser. He was not counted as one of the people needed to make the wall, so he wasn't needed to make the wall, and therefore the ones who did make the wall were shalom midas, and it's mutter. In a similar vein, the Gemara says, people who were people of a wedding party, they brought water from the Reshus Rabim to the Reshus Yachid. They created a mechitza so that it would be considered to be a Reshus Yachid and not, therefore, carrying from Reshus Rabim to Reshus Yachid. They made a mechitza with people. Nagdei Shmuel gave the Malchus. Omar, he said, Imam Shalem Midas. That he said that if we said that it's mutter, if people aren't aware they're being used as a mechitza, should we say that it's mutter if they're aware that they're being used for mechitza? There were leather jugs, leather flags that were left in the Reshus Rabim and Achuzah on Shabbos. When Rava was coming back from giving the shir, so there was crowds of people around him, and they formed the mechitzas. So Ailin and Nahale, so Rava's Shamas brought the jugs. He brought the flasks. So because they were there, it was created, the people assembled, created, naturally they formed the Reshus HaYachid, they formed Mechitza, so he was able to carry it. The Shabbos Achrit, another Shabbos, Voyalinu, there was a similar situation, and he wanted to also carry it in that manner. V'asrlo, Rava Asr, Dahavale, Kiladas v'asr, because this is considered Kiladas, it's considered like they know about it, meaning even though the people weren't assembled for that purpose, they were there just as an assembly. There's a crowd crowding around Rava after the shir, but since it's the second week in a row, it's as if they know that it's for that purpose, so he said it's also. Levi, through this same manner of people who were unaware that they were mechitzas, brought straw, so they had people brought straw to him from Reshus Rabim. Zire aspasasa, and Ziri had fodder brought to him in the same manner. He had water brought to them in the same manner. So to Mishnah. So we learned that a person that left his chum on Shabbos, if he leaves his chum, he only has Daled Amos. He's restricted to Daled Amos. So if people went to be made for the Rosh Chodesh, for the new moon, they went to be made, they went to Yerushalayim to be made, and then he was outside his chum, he would be restricted to Daled Amos. And originally that was the situation, but Rabbi Gamliel made a takana, and he said that if they left for this purpose, and they left for a Dvar Mitzvah, they have a new tchum of 2,000 Amos. So it's not only for the Eidos for the Chodesh, but it's also for if people go for a Hatzalas Nefashos or a Chaya that's going to deliver a baby, they have a new tchum of Alpayim Amma. Zok the Mishnah, Mishiel Sabrishus, a person who left his tchum with permission. So he went for a Dvar Mitzvah. He left his tchum. V'omrlo, they told him for now Samais, and they said there's no need to go further. The mitzvah was already accomplished. For instance, the Besim was already Mekabel as a Chodesh. The woman already gave birth. So now, over here, he doesn't have to go further, but Yesh Alpayim Amma l'chol ruach. But he's given a new tchum, and now he has 2,000 amas in each direction. Now, if this new 2,000 amas that he has, it overlaps, and it's within his original tchum, it's like he never left. So therefore, he has his original tchum. He has back his original tchum. Everyone who goes for Hatzalas Nefashos, they can go back to the place. The Gemara will discuss precisely what that means. What does the Mishnah mean when it says that if he was within the tchum, it's like he never left? This is what it means. It says when he left, if he went for this Dvar Mitzvah, and he left his house, but he did not go past the tchum, he did not go past his original tchum. So if that's the case, it's it's like he never left his house. It says if he was still within his original tchum, it's like he never left his house and he has his original tchum. In fact, the more pshita, well, if he never left the tchum, of course. Or says no, it is a chiddush. You might have thought that once he uprooted himself, he had in mind to leave. He had in mind that he was going to go beyond his tchum. So he had intention to leave, to abandon his tchum. So you might think, therefore, he loses it. Kamash malan, if he's still within the tchum, he doesn't lose it. That's one pshat. Rav Simi Bar Chia Omer, he says a different pshat. He says the case talking that he left his tchum. He went past his original tchum. But now, when he's informed that he need go no further, so now he has a new tchum. He has a new tchum of 2,000 amos in each direction. And now, if with that new tchum that he has, if it overlaps his original tchum, then it's like he never left his tchum. So if he's in his house, he leaves his house, he goes beyond his 2,000 amos. So he's now at a point where there's 2,000 amos past, so he's past his tchum. He now has 2,000 amos in each direction. So now he has 2,000 amos in this direction. If this overlaps his original tchum, it allows him to come back into this area, and therefore he has his original tchum. But my kamifli, what's the machlekes? Mar sovar havlos tchumim milsei. Now, Simi holds that havlos tchumim, the overlapping of tchumim, is significant, and therefore we allow him to go back and to retain his original tchum. There's a machlekes in the Pesachim. Doesn't mean he has to retain his original tchum, or he can, or he has the option. So that's a machlekes, and the Mishmar seems to indicate like the latter position, that he has the option. But that's machlekes in the Pesachim, where whether he must maintain his original tchum, or he has the option of taking the new tchum. But it's avlos tchum and milsi is overlapping, and therefore he does not lose his original tchum. Marsavar la milsi, and Rabbi holds is la milsi. And we said we don't consider this overlapping of the tchumim; it's not significant. So there seems to be a machlekes rishonim whether Rava argues on what we had learned before previously by the Nahardoi. The Nahardoi says by a person who went outside his tchum, now he's restricted dalet amos, but he has dalet amos. Now, if a person has to go to relieve himself, and therefore he's allowed to go and he leaves his area, the dalet amos that he has, and they allow him to go, and if he happens to re-enter his original tchum, the Nahardoi says, well, now he was allowed to go into that direction. He was allowed to go, but he happens to lead him into his original tchum. He retains his original tchum. Rashi says that Rama argues with that because he says havlos tchumim is not milsa, is lav milsa. But Taisa says no, he doesn't argue with that because over there, when the case is when he left, so he left that tchum that he had, he left that tchum that he had. And therefore, since he left it, he's abandoned that tchum. Now he has his new area from the point where the place where he went to relieve himself. And now if that happens to be within a city, so that's the new tchum that he has. He regains his original tchum because he's abandoned the temporary tchum that he had, and now he comes in to his city, he regains his original tchum. But over here, when he left, he went outside his tchum, now he has a new tchum. To say over here that now he has a new tchum and he's not abandoned this new tchum, Rambam says, we don't say havlo milsa to now regain or retain his original tchum, because he has a new tchum, which he has not abandoned. He hasn't left that. And therefore, he says, havlo is lav milsa, to allow him to go back to regain and retain his original tchum. Don't you hold that Avlo is milsa? Shabbos b'marav, a person on the onset of Shabbos, he was in a cave. The interior of the cave is a area has a distance of 4,000 amos. It's 4,000 amos long. But on the top of it, it's less than 4,000 amos. So we'll see in a minute how that works. Don't you agree that he can go on the entire roof of the cave, and beyond it, 2,000 amos? So if he has a cave, the bottom of the cave is 4,000 amos. Now, if the walls of the cave, they slope, so the cave, the walls slope down. So the bottom is 4,000, but it slopes. So the gag, the top of it, the top is not 4,000 amos. So the bottom is 4,000 amos, but the top of it, the gag is not 4,000 amos. Now, his Mokum Shvisa, his bias is the cave. That's his bias. That's a cave. He has, that entire cave is considered like Dalet Amos, like a house, like any house. It's considered like Dalet Amos. So when he comes out, he has a doorway, an exit here, and there's an exit here. He can go 2,000 amos from each direction. He can go 2,000 amos in each direction. Now, the top of the cave, we say the top of the cave does not minimize the distance that he can go. We say over here that it's muvla, since he has 2,000 amos in each direction, he can go 2,000 amos if he's on the top of the cave. He doesn't have to go down and up and go here 2,000 amos, down and here 2,000 amos. If he comes up on this side of the cave, he can go here, and he has 2,000 amos from this direction. Or if he comes up this way, he can go here and 2,000 amos from that direction. Why is that? Because we say that the 2,000 amos that he has from this entrance and the 2,000 amos from this entrance, since the roof is less than 4,000 amos, they're muvla. They overlap. He has 2,000 amos here, 2,000 amos over here. So they overlap, they're muvla. And we say, therefore, they're all considered to be in one area. We consider it to be overlapping and is therefore one area. And therefore, he has 2,000 amos from here. In each direction, he has 2,000 amos. And therefore, even if he comes up on this side, he can travel the whole roof of the cave, which is less than 4,000 amos. He can travel the whole roof of the cave and go 2,000 amos beyond. So he can therefore go almost 8,000 amos. He can go the roof of the cave, which is somewhat less than 4,000 amos. It can be almost 4,000 amos. 2,000 amos in this direction, 2,000 amos in that direction. So he has almost 8,000 amos. Why is that? Because we say it's havlo. Since on the roof, since they overlap, the tchumim overlap, they're considered to be as one area. So, don't you agree? He can travel the entire length of the cave in 2,000 amos in each direction. So you also agree to Avlo. Omar Le, Rabbi answered to him, aren't you machalik? Don't you differentiate between whether he was in the enclosed area on the onset of Shabbos or he wasn't? In the case of the cave, he was in the enclosed area on the onset of Shabbos. So therefore, he was kind of shvisa there. And he has, from each entrance, he has 2,000 amos. So that's his Malkum Shvisa, and they overlap. So over there we say that Havla is a Milsa. But you're talking in a case over here that on the onset of Shabbos, he had one tchum. Then later on, when he left, now he has a new tchum, and now you want to say that they overlap and they should be considered to be one area. Where do we see that? Yes, we see it in the Mara, in the case of the cave. On the onset of Shabbos, it was an enclosed area. He had Alpayim Amma from each entrance. They overlap. It's considered one area because that is his tchum on the onset of Shabbos. That is his tchum. That's his Malkum Shisa. But now here we're talking where he started Shabbos with one tchum, and sometime later, sometime during the Shabbos, there was another tchum. Why should we consider it to be one area? Where do we see that we consider it to be one large area? Frankly, when he did not begin the Shabbos with this tchum, with this one enclosed area, do we not say havlo? Batanan, we learned in the Mishnah, Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Lezer says that if a person went out of his tchum, but if he's within 2 amas of his city, he's allowed to go back into his city. But if it's 3 amas away, he's not allowed to go in. So why is he allowed to go in? My love, Rabbi Lezer Latame Damar Hubems, that Rabbi Lezer follows with Shita, that he says the Chacham gave him Dalet Amas v'Zchus L'Tchum. What does it mean they gave him Dalet Amas? It means he's in the middle. He has 2 amas in each direction. So therefore, he's outside his Tchum. If he has 2 amas, and that brings him into his city, now he regains his original Tchum. So he says that V'arba Amas Yavle Rabbanan Kiman Demivloin Dami, and therefore this Dalet Amas the Rabbanim gave him, he has 2 amas in each direction. If it now bleeds him into the city, there's havla, it overlaps, and now he can go back to his city. V'kamer Yikon is Alma Havla's Tchumim Milsehi. So doesn't that show you that the law Havla is Milsim? Omerle Rabbi Bar Achabar Chanala Bayam O made Rabbi Lezer Kamaisul Amar. You're asking Kash from Rabbi Lezer, but the Chum don't agree with that. He says, no, Omerle Yen. Yes, I am, because the Shmili Minei Damar, because I heard from Rabbi himself that said, Akan Pliga Rabbanon Rabbi Lezer of the Varishus. Where did the Rabbanon argue on Rabbi Lezer? That's only the Varishus if he left the Tchum, if he left the Tchum on it for no mitzvah, he wasn't obligated to. He did it on his own. Aval devar mitzvah moidele. But if he left for devar mitzvah, the Rabbanan also moide that if his new tchum, if the area that it leads him, the Dalet Amas, if it leads him into the city, then he regains his original tchum. So you see that he himself holds that havla milsa, even though it's loy shovas, v'aver mechitzas mi boydyon.